Could it be that being overly generous backfires? In a society that usually associates generosity with morality, the thought of giving excessively may look counterintuitive. When we step back and examine Stoicism's guiding principles, we see a framework that emphasizes moderation, knowledge, and self-care, implying that our need to be pleasant all the time may be interfering with our health and reasoning. Stoicism emphasizes the need of emotional resilience and resisting outer factors that disrupt our inner peace. Are we truly living a balanced life if we consistently prioritize other people's wants and needs over our own? According to Stoic views, true wisdom comes from understanding one's own giving limitations and ensuring that acts of compassion do not threaten one's emotional or moral equilibrium. This discussion is both philosophical and profoundly practical. Everyday events can cause emotional exhaustion, ruined relationships, and missed opportunities for personal growth if we are unwilling to say no or attempt to please everyone. Exploring the hazards of being overly generous does not imply that we do not value compassion and generosity. Instead, we're figuring out how to use these characteristics properly, so that they make us and those around us happy rather than furious and upset. This approach of thinking is consistent with the Stoic notion that moderation leads to virtue, and that our ability to make decisions reflects our maturity in the face of complexity. How can compassion, which is supposed to bring us together, sometimes end up alienating us? Let's investigate this contradiction together. How may the desire to fit in with others impact our decision-making when we should be true to ourselves? Through exploring these problems, we will get insight into how to develop a balanced, full life with real Stoic wisdom by leveraging kindness's benefits while avoiding its excesses. As always, all I ask is that you click the subscribe button if you love what we do here. It is absolutely free of charge. How about we leave? Number 1. Stoic wisdom for avoiding emotional burnout. This is not your typical afternoon tiredness. It's a complete breakdown on all levels produced by prolonged stress, which commonly occurs when people prioritize other people's emotional needs over their own. Stoicism, which emphasizes moderation and self-control, warns against letting external obligations and other people's expectations consume us. According to the Stoic philosophy, before we aid others, we should take care of ourselves. Not in an egocentric manner, but in a way that ensures our strength and capability. Marcus Aurelius's writings and lectures frequently address the importance of maintaining one's integrity in the face of societal pressures. He stated that acknowledging one's own limitations is vital for living a good and sensible life. Being someone else's rock, an attentive ear, or a go-getter when things go wrong is a guaranteed path to emotional burnout. You may feel a feeling of purpose and value in this employment from the start. However, continuous stress from emotional labor may manifest as impatience, poor job performance, emotional distance, and a lack of pride in one's accomplishments. Real-life physiological repercussions that might emerge from this psychological influence include insomnia, headaches, and a weakened immune system. Stoics emphasize the significance of maintaining emotional resilience. Improving our ability to take a step back and objectively evaluate our relationships with others can help us become more resilient. It is critical to understand what is truly under our control and what is not. This is a lesson that the Stoics teach. Kindness necessitates accepting that you can only do so much. You can't force others to do what you want or take on their emotional problems without exhausting yourself. Recognizing when you need to take a break and setting realistic expectations for yourself and others are two of the most effective methods to avoid emotional tiredness. Being kind to oneself is a necessary component of genuine kindness and must be recognized. Finding the correct balance is critical to avoiding sacrificing selflessness for compassion. Stoicism attempts to achieve this balance, ensuring that our efforts to help others do not detract from our own well-being, allowing us to continue to be a long-term agent of positive change. Number 2. Balancing self-care and compassion for personal growth. Stoicism tells us that in order to live a full and good life, we must always strive to improve ourselves. This cannot be done on an as-needed basis. The idea that we should all take responsibility for our own lives and shape them in accordance with our values and ideas is important to it. When we do this on a regular basis, it may appear to be beneficial to prioritize the needs of others over our own. Nonetheless, when we're so focused on the outside world, it's easy to lose sight of ourselves. Helping others through difficult times may cause us to lose interest in our own interests, postpone furthering our education, or even impede our professional development. Stoicism might shed light on the redistribution of energy. Helping others is admirable, but it should not be at the expense of one's own moral and intellectual development, according to this philosophical school. The Stoics thought that in order to grow as a person, one must cultivate qualities such as moderation, wisdom, justice, and courage. Each of these is crucial to our personal behavior and social interactions. When we are extremely unselfish all of the time, we risk abandoning these principles and never standing up for ourselves, whether by failing to set boundaries or seeking justice. Because we want to maintain a kind and helpful approach, we may avoid confrontations or important arguments that foster personal growth. Being overly kind can sometimes lead to you becoming trapped in a rut, causing you to neglect or postpone your own goals. When growth slows, feelings of imbalance and dissatisfaction may emerge. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, highlighted the fleeting nature of life and the need of acting in line with one's most fundamental ideas and goals. He warned us not to waste time on things unrelated to who we are and what we want out of life. To evaluate if being nice is beneficial or detrimental to our well-being, we must frequently reflect on our own acts. To do so, we must tackle the difficult questions of whether our decisions are founded on our principles or on our responses to the wants and needs of others around us. The trick is not to let our compassion force us to ignore ourselves. To avoid this pitfall, Stoicism advocates a more balanced approach in which self-care and personal goals are not overshadowed by the desire to help others. Using a well-rounded technique like this ensures that our acts of kindness have a long-term impact and help not only other people's lives, but also our own personal growth and pleasure. Stoicism teaches us to tend to our own gardens first, so that we can better care for the gardens of those around us. Number 3, balancing generosity and self-respect in relationships. Being giving without restrictions may be interpreted as a show of weakness or a desire to give in to unreasonable demands, regardless of how much we can accomplish. This may appeal to those who are more concerned with their own interests than with building mutual respect. Relationships like these are destructive and violate Stoic values of justice and mutual respect. Being compassionate is necessary, but Epictetus believed that one must also be discerning. According to him, the key to avoiding encouraging negative character traits such as avarice or dependency is determining who to support and how much help to provide. This judgment steers clear of relationships in which one's generosity is repeatedly exploited. Being overly courteous without setting clear boundaries can lead to a vicious cycle of being around people who see generosity as a strength to be exploited rather than a virtue to be commended. Such partnerships are generally imbalanced, with the donor continuously feeling exhausted and the recipient constantly looking for more. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the importance of balancing kindness and prudence. He highlighted the significance of understanding the consequences of our actions on both ourselves and society as a whole, as well as whether they are morally correct. This Stoic viewpoint is crucial because it emphasizes the importance of striking a balance between generosity and protecting one's own well-being. The Stoic way recommends avoiding exploitative relationships by educating one to respect oneself and set firm boundaries. The lesson is that generosity should not be misused, but that genuine kindness also entails being kind to oneself. Taking a Stoic approach to our relationships teaches us to be generous with our assistants while also being clever, which extends our generosity and benefits everyone involved. Instead of relying on manipulation and exploitation, this balanced approach promotes relationships based on genuine respect and support. Number 4. Balancing reason and compassion in decision-making. Stoicism teaches that while making crucial life decisions, reason should take precedence over emotion. Decisions made out of kindness rather than rationality may not always be in the person's best interests or reflect their basic values. When people are extremely giving, it might be difficult to think rationally and make decisions that prioritize other people's happiness over their own. This can manifest in a variety of ways, such as accepting duties that contradict one's professional or personal goals, or passing up opportunities that would push one to prioritize themselves. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, warned against allowing our emotions to influence our decision-making and emphasized the importance of reason as a guiding principle in life. When we consider how compromised decision-making might lead to a life that is unsatisfactory or does not align with one's aims, this Stoic principle becomes crucial. In reality, putting other people's wants and needs ahead of your own puts you at danger of doing things that will not help you grow as a person or make you happy. The importance of the Stoic habit of introspection becomes clear in this situation. To ensure that our kindness is deliberate and not spontaneous, we should check in with ourselves frequently to see if our decisions are consistent with our objectives and principles. According to Seneca, the keys to freedom are living a life in accordance with one's principles and having the courage to say no when necessary. The ability to decline, to prioritize one's own interests over those of others, even when it may result in disappointment, is a sign of Stoic wisdom and self-respect. Stoicism restores agency to those who give up too much control over their decisions in order to be polite. It implies finding a medium ground in which being polite does not contradict or undermine one's moral compass or happiness, but rather enhances them. True to the Stoic ideal of a well-reasoned life, we can strengthen our ability to make compassionate, reasonable, and ethical decisions by working to maintain this equilibrium. Number 5. Balancing kindness and authenticity in relationships. When kindness is provided without judgment or moderation, the danger becomes much more obvious. Stoicism also emphasizes the need of developing true and meaningful relationships with others. Overly generous acts of kindness without bounds may result in shallow relationships that lack depth and genuine appreciation for one another. Stoic thinkers such as Marcus Aurelius believe that true interpersonal ties are necessary for living a fulfilling life. On the other hand, they emphasized the significance of not sacrificing our own goals and principles in order to appease others. When we are overly accommodating, continually saying yes in order to avoid uncomfortable circumstances, we risk burying our own feelings and thoughts. Because of this repression, genuine connection, in which both partners feel safe enough to be themselves, may never happen. In partnerships marked by excessive people-pleasing, one's genuine character and needs may be concealed. Our abilities, rather than our personalities, may captivate people and cause them to rely on us. This relationship can eventually lead to anger and disappointment. Epictetus, another notable Stoic, believes that honest and open conversation is the most effective approach to form meaningful bonds. He underlined the importance of being secure in one's own identity and speaking up for one's goals in life. Loss of true relationships is about more than just being unable to connect on a deeper level. It also involves the risk of not being acknowledged or understood. Our ability to engage in meaningful and gratifying exchanges is reduced when our interactions are primarily motivated by a desire to appear pleasant. While reflecting on friendship and social interaction, Seneca observed that the best friendships are those in which each friend feels safe enough to be entirely honest with the other, and constructive criticism is not just permitted, but encouraged. Stoicism recommends moderation in kindness, ensuring that it is considered rather than reactive as a means of developing genuine connections. Setting restrictions on who and what we can offer helps us determine what we are willing to give. In addition to guaranteeing our safety, this change will promote more honest and rewarding conversation. This Stoic equilibrium provides the way for genuine and mutually beneficial connections, as well as those based on kindness, which leads to stronger and more satisfying bonds. Number 6. Cultivating genuine relationships through balanced kindness. Stoic doctrines highlight the value of emotional stability. Overly giving people can disrupt this equilibrium, resulting in resentment, anxiety, and despair. Loss of identity can arise from consistently putting others' needs before of one's own, which is the underlying source of these feelings. It is desirable to be compassionate, but as the Stoic thinkers Seneca and Epictetus stated, one must ensure that their own mental well-being is not threatened in the process. If we are constantly generous, we may begin to question the importance of our own needs and our right to express them. When we postpone discussing or expressing our emotions, we put ourselves under undue stress. This includes repressing our needs and desires. On a psychological level, this might result in stress, tiredness, and burnout. The Stoics believe that if we wish to be intelligent, we must pay attention to our own needs as well as those of others. Furthermore, when you feel compelled to maintain the illusion of continual generosity, you may be concerned that you will always disappoint others. This is congruent with the Stoic approach, which holds that one finds happiness in acting sensibly rather than bowing to others' expectations. Another way that being overly helpful to others might make you feel bad about yourself is by convincing you that other people respect you solely for what you can do for them, rather than for who you are. Stoicism advocates being self-aware or reflecting on why we are being unduly giving and what happens as a result, in order to reduce the psychological toll of these acts. This type of introspection can help to build a more well-rounded attitude toward compassion, including self-friendliness. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, emphasized the necessity of acting in line with one's own virtues and reason, saying that we should consider not just the repercussions of our actions on others, but also our own mental and emotional health. Stoicism promotes individual and society prosperity while emphasizing kindness and social betterment. The idea that our charitable efforts should benefit us rather than drain us is key to the concept, which advocates for a happy medium between compromising one's mental health for the purpose of doing good. Number 7, balancing generosity and mental health for true well-being. Being overly generous might lead to mental health difficulties such as depression and anxiety. This occurs when people prioritize the wants of others over their own emotional and psychological needs in order to be accommodating and generous at all times. Ignoring one's own needs in favor of others can lead to emotional discontent and discord, according to Stoic philosophy, which advocates a life of virtue balanced with self-awareness and personal wellness. Apatheia, or freedom from distress, was a major Stoic ideal. They believed that the key to happiness lay in controlling one's emotions rather than suppressing them. When we consistently prioritize other people's needs over our own, our mental health suffers. This increases the likelihood of feeling underappreciated or overwhelmed. In this scenario, Stoic wisdom would advise us to avoid overburdening oneself with mental tasks. A lack of true self-expression caused by the need to always be kind to everyone can exacerbate feelings of loneliness and isolation. Depression and other mental health issues are intimately linked to these emotions. According to a Stoic, the key to having a genuine relationship with oneself and others is to be honest about what you need and how you feel. Stoicism, with its emphasis on introspection and reflection, also offers a method of overcoming misfortune. If we take the time to focus on our feelings and aspirations on a regular basis, we can identify when our unselfish efforts injure us more than they assist others. Introspection allows us to set more fair limitations and practice kindness towards ourselves. Stoicism does not advocate for less kindness in dealing with these challenges to mental health. Rather, it advocates for a more nuanced method that prioritizes individual well-being and happiness over all else. Finding a happy medium between helping others and neglecting our own mental health is critical for preventing a downward spiral. When we add Stoic knowledge into our compassion strategy, we may protect our mental health while also improving the lives of others. Number 8. Harmonizing self-care and generosity for true well-being. Neglecting one's own desires becomes routine when one consistently prioritizes other people's demands over one's own. Taking care of others may force you to overlook your own needs, whether by going without food or sleep, suppressing your emotions to keep the peace, or passing up opportunities for personal development that would require time away from your caring responsibilities. Despite their good intentions, these behaviors contravene the Stoic concept of oikeiosis, which is to take reasonable care of oneself in order to live a logical and serene life. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus and Seneca, saw self-regard as necessary for human development rather than selfishness. They said that placing one's own needs last makes it impossible to assist others. According to this viewpoint, self-neglect is detrimental to the community as a whole, since a sick or unhappy individual cannot contribute to the well-being of others. Stoicism holds that the key to wisdom is understanding what we can and cannot alter. In our rush to help others, we risk losing sight of the one area in which we have the most control, ourselves. Frustration and resentment can emerge from this misalignment, which the Stoics attribute to an inaccurate understanding of one's true responsibilities. According to Stoic philosophy, we should prioritize our own intellectual and moral well-being. This is because it is immediately within our control and serves as the basis from which all of our actions should flow. Moderation and introspection are fundamental Stoic tenets that serve as weapons against self-denial. It teaches that self-care does not mean giving up on helping others, but rather that it is required for doing so. If we take care of our own physical and emotional health, we will be able to help others more effectively and without hostility. To live in harmony with nature and satisfy our commitments to ourselves and our community in a sustainable and acceptable manner, we must strike a balance between self-care and care for others. We are encouraged to extend our generosity both internally and externally by implementing Stoic ideas into our lives. By using this approach, we may ensure that our acts of kindness are not harmful to ourselves, but rather reflect a balanced virtue that includes both self-respect and self-compassion. This kind of mindset enhances our own lives as well as the lives of those around us by taking into account the needs of others in addition to ourselves. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of understanding one's own nature. Part of this is making time for introspection on a regular basis to consider why we do things, how our actions influence others and ourselves, and whether our generous deeds are motivated by true compassion, a need for affirmation, or a need to avoid conflict. A more self-aware individual can discern when they are in need of kindness and when it is harming or impeding their development. Marcus Aurelius frequently emphasized the importance of comparing one's goals to reasonable standards and virtue in his works. Another effective strategy is to set realistic limitations and keep to them. If we wish to stay healthy and aid others, we must do this. Set limitations on how much you can give before harming yourself or others. Boundaries teach people what is and is not acceptable behavior. This Stoic discipline emphasizes being intelligent in our kindness rather than being less kind. If we are honest about our limitations, we can help others without depleting our own resources. Keeping our boundaries in place directly reflects Epictetus's admonition to focus on what we can control. Here too, the Stoic concept of moderation applies to everything, including charity. The Stoics believed that any type of excess could lead to moral degeneration and imbalance. Rather than being overly generous or insensitive, we can ensure that our kindness is situationally appropriate and purposeful by exercising moderation. This strategy makes it simpler to stay grounded and perform acts of kindness that are appropriate for our talents and true intentions. Furthermore, embracing Stoic philosophy and demonstrating courage permits us to respectfully but firmly decline when requested to do so. Those who are sensitive to the emotions of others may find this to be one of the most difficult aspects of balanced compassion. However, according to Stoicism, having a decent life necessitates moral bravery, which is the determination to do what is right in light of reason. This bravery teaches us to say no when asked to do things that could harm us or others, and it helps us avoid the temptation to always give in to everyone's requests. Finally, Stoicism teaches us to be grateful and content with what we have, which may assist to reduce the desire to always give to others. When we respect and appreciate our lives, we are less prone to use compassion to gain approval from others and are more likely to act truly kindly and reasonably. If we adopt these Stoic practices on a daily basis, we can receive the benefits of generosity and kindness while avoiding the drawbacks of overextending ourselves. This comprehensive approach not only protects our health, but also increases the effect and gratitude for our acts of kindness, resulting in better and more meaningful relationships in the long run. Remember, as we conclude today's investigation of the complex area of kindness, that the strength of Stoicism lies not just in establishing relationships with others, but also with ourselves. Giving freely should not be done in order to reduce one's own generosity, but rather to maximize its impact on one's own life. Thank you for joining us at Stoic Journal. Your participation benefits our community and helps us all strive for a balanced, reflective life. Watch one of the videos on the screen for further tips on how to live a virtue-filled life. Never stop learning, reflecting, or developing your best self.